Hi everybody, I'm Angela Clark and this is my husband Dan Clark.
Hi.
And guys, I just wanted to talk to you today about really healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships and what makes relationships healthy. So, you know, in our family of origin that we grew up in, a lot of us didn't learn the tools needed for communicating properly with people in the world and with our mates and with our relatives. And we kind of get into what you would call an unhealthy, sick family rules, secrets, things that cause the family to not function very well and make people eventually not feel good in their lives, and carrying that into their marriages and into their work relationships and every relationship, really, because we're not taught how to do relationships. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I just want to talk to you.
Especially this one here, codependency.
Yeah,
Churches
right.
don't even want to talk about it.
No, gosh, no. I remember growing up and we were taught that in this little Pine Community Church that I lived, where I lived, that was something bad, that we don't want to learn about that. And so my mother gave me a set of tapes, and she kind of was the same religion, kind of sort of Messianic Jewish. And I got those tapes and I thought, codependent? I'm not dependent on anyone. This is stupid. And I remember throwing it away.
Yeah.
And years later, I'm divorced. How about you, Dan?
Yep.
Is that what happened to you because you didn't
Same
communicate?
thing. Yeah, you don't communicate. You don't even know you're being abused or abusing somebody. It works both ways.
Or that you're even unhappy.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to ask for what you need. You don't know how to say what's wrong. You know, there's so many things you don't do. You just keep tolerating it, putting up with it.
Well, especially in the church, you're told that the head of every woman is the man. In most churches.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and women are in subjection, so
yes.
that could be abused. And
yes.
it usually is. And in alcoholic families,
yeah.
women have to take the brunt of the alcoholic, and they don't know how to set a boundary with their husband. They're supposed to respect him, but yet, what do they do about their self, right?
Right. And you know, this is how codependency kind of all came about, was because of alcoholics, and now they've extended it into every area of our lives, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the woman being maybe married to an alcoholic, or vice versa, right? Where the man has to tolerate the wife's abuse and dysfunction, and trying to get him to do what he doesn't want to do, like maybe say, for example, call her work and say, hey, Angela's not going to be able to make it today. She's got a stomach ache or something, lying about the fact that, truth be told, she's drunk or she's had a bad night. And so that's kind of like where this started. But we're going to talk also about boundaries and how that fits in there. We might even talk about gaslighting. Relationships can be really dysfunctional, and we can live on and on and on in them our whole lives before we finally start figuring out what went wrong. And usually it's because some loss happens. You get divorced. You're a mess. Maybe you're an alcoholic because you don't know how to deal with it.
Sneaks up on you.
Yeah. Maybe following the patterns of the family, because in a sick codependent family cycle, it's like a circle, and everybody in the family has a different role to play. Somebody's the scapegoat, and someone's the
fixer, fixes everybody.
There's all these different roles, and I can't remember them all now, but if you study about this, you'll find out everybody's got kind of a role in the family, and they can switch. Like one person who's the fixer will then become the scapegoat, and it can switch around. But in my case, for me, I think I was pretty much the scapegoat. Would you say, probably?
Yeah, and in your mom's family, you were the fixer. You had to raise all the kids. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I was the fixer,
clean the house,
and then later on, I was the scapegoat, the one being abused and thrown away, the one pointed to, or she's the problem. This kind of thing. It switches around.
Yeah,
it sure does.
Sure does.
So anyway, so I threw away those tapes, and I really actually needed them. But what happened, I got divorced, or I began the process of getting divorced. And first thing that happened was I found a book called Boundaries. And I forgot the author of it now, but it was really, really good. I was angry reading it because it was irritating as heck, because I realized, oh my gosh, this is my family. This is the way that I was raised. And I did not like it because it was facing a lot of stuff, and it kind of meant I needed to do something, and I don't think I wanted to do it. Like, for example, I met Dan right when I started learning about all this stuff, and as well as took 12-step group classes and learned about codependency. and which is a lot of times found in Al-Anon. But Dan saw that I was reading that book. I was telling him about it. He was just my friend at that point. And I remember telling him that I was on my bed in my bedroom where I was having to live for a little while because I was filing for divorce and felt like I was in danger. So off I went to my new room, and I'm sitting there in my room praying before I had to go to work, and in walks my mother right while I'm in my bedroom with the door shut and praying. And she didn't say, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I should get out of here for a minute. Nope, just sat down on my bed and started talking, and I didn't say anything about it, as usual, One time I was even in the bathroom. I think I didn't have the door all the way shut, but she knew I was in there, and she just kind of busted her head in. Hey, started talking to me. Boundaries. And she would come up to Dan from behind to look at the computer that he's looking at and just touch her chest up to his back and pointing and right beside his face, oh, look right there, real close. And I'd be livid. I wouldn't say anything. This is codependent. And so Dan said to me, Angela, aren't you going to say something to your mother? You told me you were reading about that. I'm like, what? What? Are you kidding me? No way. And so, but he insisted that I needed to do that's boundaries. And I needed to set boundaries, just like I was telling him.
It wasn't going to change.
Yeah, no, nothing was ever going to change. I was just going to hold and harbor that frustration and that anger inside. Another thing I remember is that Dan was with me too. When I would say, Mom, I don't want you to talk to me about the religion of my origin anymore. I don't believe that way anymore. But I'll tell you what, she wasn't going to have it. She was going to talk about it whether I wanted to hear it or not, even if it meant I would go into trauma. Didn't
or
care.
run out of her house.
Because I was going into trauma. And I'd been abused really badly, and it was just because it was just one more thing where I felt abused. I felt disrespected. It was like, I think I was beginning to draw a line automatically, like I knew I couldn't do this anymore. But boy, she wouldn't respect it. And I had to really dig my heels in and threaten to not talk to her on the phone, not answer her phone calls. She didn't respect it still, and I had to cut her off. I really, really did. That was really a bummer. But when you learn how to begin to not be codependent, which is where you don't know how to say no, you tend to try to fix people instead of looking at your own self. You look at everybody else, and you're always focused on everyone else. You don't
you're
know how
last.
Yeah, you're last.
If at all.
Right. You don't ever know how to say no to anyone. If you don't want to do something, you just always say yes. I'm a yes man, ma'am. Yes, yes, yes. Sure, yeah, I'll do that. Where did you learn that from? Most of us learn that in our churches of origin, because they tell you to do something, then you don't argue with the pastor. You're a servant of all, and you must do it. You don't say no. And in your family that you grew up in, well, you don't have a voice in there. Your children to be seen and not heard. Your opinion doesn't matter. What you want doesn't matter, and you'll be in trouble. So, also in my church of origin, if you dare argue with what they taught in there, you're going to be excommunicated. I guarantee it. They're going to be at your door. They're going to be discussing what the heck. Why are you having a problem, with our beliefs? And you get a talking to, and if you keep on speaking against it or anything, you're going to get excommunicated. Dan had the same thing.
Same in the Jehovah's Witnesses. Same thing.
Yeah.
Can't question the leadership.
No.
Can't ask him any questions. So.
Right. So it you end up being codependent just from your upbringing and your church of origin. So I'm not okay with that anymore. I don't allow or tolerate abuse, which is causing my family a lot of trouble because they're angry because I'm rocking the family boat. You're going to hear this saying when you learn about codependency, rocking the family boat. So it just means that the status quo that we've always had, the family secrets, whatever it is that goes on behind those closed doors, we don't talk about that. And at the dinner table in my family, we didn't talk about problems that I was having with my brother or with my, something that hurt me that my dad said, or no, we didn't discuss anything at all, ever. We never had a discussion like that. The only thing that ever happened was Mom said you guys were bad when I was at work. Line up, which meant we're all going to get a spanking or a switching or something. He didn't even try to find out what went on. No argument from our side, just Mom said and line up and get your spanking, And so, you didn't learn to say no, even though you knew that was wrong. We shouldn't be getting a spanking in this case, but it didn't matter what we thought. So this is the kind of thing. You have to also learn how to self-care. One thing that happened when I got divorced is I realized, oh my gosh, I don't know what I like. You know, like I don't have to cook the eggs the way that he wants me to anymore, and I can go wherever I want to go to eat or whatever. I got to make my own choices. I get to have my own beliefs now.
Put
my
nail
own, my own
polish on if you
dreams.
want.
Yeah, I can do my nails. I can take care, self-care. You know, I can, you know. So what do I want? So I got to figure that out. Yeah, I like to take care of myself, and it's good too. And I felt guilty about that. Getting my toenails done, my fingernails done. I felt guilty, like that's a frivolous thing. And I got to choose how I wanted my breakfast and all these things that I didn't get to before.
Yep.
And that's a codependent person, because you know they don't want to cause problems. They want to be the one that's the peacemaker who goes along with whatever you want, honey. You know, don't know what you want because, well, it causes problems, and you don't want to cause problems. I remember my ex-husband said, "Where would you like to go get a bite to eat?" And I told him. You think we went there? Nope. We went where he wanted to go. So I learned you don't offer where you want to go. It's no point. So I just would always say, wherever you want to go. And I wouldn't even express my resentment over it. In fact, I don't think I had acknowledgement that I had resentment over that. That's
the
how
thing.
I
You
lived.
you live in a quiet discontent. You know,
Yes.
you wanted to go to that restaurant, but you stuffed it down. You wanted to go there, but we went this way. You wanted to go there. And I want to just say this, you probably already know this, but when you first start to stand up, the family don't like it.
Oh,
Man, they
man.
get together and they said, oh my God, she's changed. You know, she's not a Christian anymore. Oh my God, she's so harsh. She's so, oh my God, what happened to my daughter?
My sweet little daughter.
My sweet little daughter, she's not the same. Oh my God, she doesn't have a heart anymore. They hate it.
Lost her love.
They hate it because they had you in their hand. They just had you doing whatever they needed, cleaning, extra cleaning, cooking. I mean, it went on and on. You're a human slave without a voice.
Right.
So when you first stand up and you say, hold it, it's not pretty.
No.
They will call you every name. The family will get together. Everybody, especially in the Christian family, they'll use Christianity against you. They'll say, she lost a love. She used to be so sweet and so kind, and because you did everything for them. That's why you
Everything.
were so kind.
You think I'm less giving now than I was then? No way. It's just that now it's more proper, functional,
Balanced and everything.
yeah. And I don't let
And
people.
you count now.
Yeah, I count. You know, and if I need to take care of something for me, I don't just always say yes. You know, I know how to say, you know, not today. You know, maybe tomorrow. But I know how to take care of myself now. There's another one too that I want to bring this one up. So again, codependency kind of started with alcoholics. So one of the things that will happen, like with an alcoholic, for example, where some codependency comes in, is let's say that a guy, he has decided to stop drinking. He's been going to AA for a while and making some good strides, and he's now got to make a trip to the family, okay? So you go in and you know the dad's going to give you a hard time because he always hands you beer every time you go in there. So you go in there and sure enough, dad tries to hand you the beer, and you're like, no, dad, I'm good. Well, why? What's the matter? What's the matter, boy? You know, are you sick? You're not feeling good or something, right? And then he's like, no, Daddy, I'm just good. I don't need one, and he gives him a hard time. Oh, Joey, go get him a beer, whether you want one or not, right? Hands you the beer. Dad, no, thank you. I said no, right? And so then he keeps giving you a hard time. And so you say, Dad, look, I quit drinking 2 months ago. I haven't had a drink for 2 months. Oh, what do you think, you're better than us or something? And suddenly they twist it, like as if you wanted them to, you're guilty in them because they're drinking, and now suddenly they feel guilty, and that's not okay. They make you feel guilty for making them feel guilty. And it's sick. It's really sick.
I've
because,
been in that.
Have you really?
I've had 2 incidences where I had people talk to me like that. One was an elder. He made his own wine. And he'd say, you're going to try some of my wine, aren't you? And I'd say, well, I really shouldn't drink. And he would go, oh, come on, and I'd say, really, I can't drink. And he'd say, oh, come on, that's for in social groups, you're going to be fine. You just got to not drink, And so I would drink with him. And I had a problem drinking. And then there was another guy who was a carpet layer. And when he got home, he goes, I'm really upset. And I said, why? And he goes, I was out with the brothers, and they wouldn't have a drink with me. And you know, he's pouring me one while he's saying that, and he's putting bitters in it and all this stuff. And he goes, I just can't believe, you know, but people who drink want partners, you know, to drink with them. And then I was almost ready to say no, but I was codependent. And he's pouring one and making it all up for me and putting a Coke in and Jim Beam. And he says, my God, thank God you have a drink with me. You know, thank God I got someone to have a drink with. And we had a couple of them and a few. But you can't be codependent or you'll be still an alcoholic. You know, you can't be a codependent or you'll still be doing stuff you don't want to do.
And you know, who wants to have their dad mad at them? Or your brothers or your family? You just don't want that. And they will ream you.
Oh.
They will rip you a new, you know what.
Oh, yeah.
And
they don't
so,
like it. The new you. They don't like the new you.
No. I remember my neighbor, one of the two, they both drank like fish. And one of them quit. And boy, the other one was not supportive in any way at all. And the guy just went back to drinking because she made it so horrible and impossible. So, you know, we have to really stand our ground and set some boundaries. You know, like I said, whatever boundaries you need to set. But in this case, you know, the guy might leave dejected, humiliated, frustrated, angry, and want to go get a drink right now. That is such a hard thing. So you kind of have to, and when you go to 12-step group anyway, you make a plan on how you're going to react. So you might like have in your wallet a bunch of phone numbers that the minute you get out, you're going to call and you're going to discuss what happened, and you're going to kind of know what probably could happen. You're going to think about that ahead of time, and all these things you're going to do to self-care and to not fall into the pit with the family sick cycle that they've all been in, learning how to deal with their problems, which is not dealing with your problems. Because a lot of the reasons why a lot of people drink or do drugs or whatever self-hatred they do towards themselves is because they don't feel good about things, and they figured out that makes them feel better. It's just their drug of choice, right? It makes you feel better, and you don't know another way. You learn that way. So it's a tough thing, but you make plans and you learn how to deal with it next time around better and better. And this is just how we learn, right? There's
One day at a time.
Right.
You get to start over again tomorrow if you screw up today.
Exactly. So we've covered self-care. Learning how to say no. Learning how to say no to the family is killer, because they always, like my mother, she used to with my ex, okay, well this weekend I want you kids to come over and I want to move the furniture that's upstairs and downstairs and the furniture downstairs, upstairs. I kid you not. This went on all the time. My mother loved to move things around. Something had to be done all the time, and we were hooked into her. And my husband finally said, that's not going to happen. So you know what happens when you do that? You're going to get, everybody's going to hear about it in the whole family, first of all, so it goes down the gossip line. And then they do things like withholding, having the family get together and say, Aunt, where's Angela?
Forgot to invite
let's just
her.
call her. Aunt, where are you, honey?
We're having fun.
We're having so much fun. Where are you? We're having this party. It's like, what?
Singing happy birthday while she's on the couch.
Right, and it's like, well, wait, you didn't know? We called you. I thought we called you. And this is kind of crapola that goes on because you're being punished. And God only knows what. You'll be cut out of the family. Well, I don't know. It can get really nasty because you don't do what you're told. Like in Dan's religion, if you didn't do exactly as you're told, then you're excommunicated. Fellowship, they call it. And you are cut out of the family everything.
Oh, yeah.
We have a friend who's cut out of the family will because he said, I don't want to go there anymore. And God only knows what all crapola they'll do to you because you think you're better than them or something. Something's wrong with it because you're not just going along with the status quo. You want to have things change. Like, for example, I don't want you to abuse me anymore. I don't want you to talk to me in that tone of voice anymore. You know, I'm not okay with that. And anyway, if we don't, guys, what happens is we have a volcano that literally builds, you know, from early childhood. It just keeps adding and festering in there until finally it's blowing out the top. And then... Or
you don't have any intimacy, you don't have any connection, you start drifting apart. You know, it's easy to get attracted to the guy at work or the girl at work who's giving you the attention and respect that you need and want.
Yeah.
So it's easy to to drift in that too,
Yeah, and not even realize
because
what's
it's built up resentment.
yeah, and like Dan's ex, she built up a whole bunch of resentment, and he'd come home from work and find the drawer fronts on the floor from the kitchen, and it's because of slamming the drawers. But it didn't really dawn on him. He wouldn't go there in his thinking processes.
Yeah, that
to
somebody
think,
was really mad.
yeah. So there all these things go on, but we don't look at them because we learn how to stuff a lot of times because of the way we were raised or in our religion, and we didn't go there with our thoughts. We learned in our churches to not think for yourself, to not use critical thinking skills. So that was a whole nother problem for us that we had to learn to get over. But we have to look at these things. Why do I feel like I'm in my marriage and I'm not feeling love? I'm not feeling loved. I'm not feeling that intimacy we used to have, and I don't know why. But what we'll do is we'll not even go there. We just ignore it and ignore it and ignore it and ignore it, and little things are said and done and missed, and things that just hurt, and you just stuff it and stuff it until one day, this is what they say happens all the time, one of the two of them just says, I'm done, I'm done. And
then you both lose.
really sad, and the kids really lose. And but one thing we don't want to tolerate in codependency is abuse. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because here's the problem. Abuse always escalates, and it never stays the same. It always continues to escalate. You don't even notice. It's so subtle. But what's the really bad part about it is that, well, your self-esteem is plummeting. Your dreams are plummeting. You don't feel good about life anymore. You may be morphed into maybe what your husband wants and what he dreams, and you've lost yourself completely. Don't even know what you like, don't know what you believe, don't have a stand on anything. But your children are witnessing all of this. Even your family members are witnessing it. It's a really bad, your sisters, your brother, whatever, they're witnessing how you react. They're learning from it. We don't want that. And we don't want that for our own selves either, because God has a dream for each and every one of us. I believe that. A purpose that we're specifically for me to fulfill. For me, I feel it's a gift of encouragement. And I use that. Music is one of the ways I do that. I talk about the words and the music and discuss it. And it's just my way of, touching people. It's my way of encouraging. So you lose who you are, and you lose your purpose by not dealing with this volcano. And when the volcano's erupting, it means you're spewing out all this hatred and resentment that could have been dealt with a long time ago had you known how to deal with that. But we didn't learn, and we did what our parents did. They just ignored it and didn't deal with it, did they? And you guys, we don't have to do it that way. We don't. We can learn a better way, that when we learn how to say what needs to be said on a daily basis, eventually we learn how to say things on a daily basis. So let's say Dan talked to me with a disrespectful voice, and I might say, instead of letting it escalate over the months and years, I just say right off, hey, what's wrong? What's going on there? And we'll get to the bottom of it right then and there. And he might say, well, that really hurt me, that something you said earlier. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way, or whatever. Or this was going on and I didn't tell you that, or I didn't explain it. And we work it out, as opposed to we hold it in. And we're good at it. So sometimes in the beginning, I'll be at somewhere and somebody will abuse me. And as soon as I leave, I'm like, man, rats. I should have said this and I should have said that. But it didn't occur to me. I was in such shock that they treated me that way. I just kind of went into a codependent moment of shut me down, literally shut me down. You can go into trauma because maybe it brings up from abuse from the past, and your brain just doesn't think. And then you think later, so it's okay though, because then you think about what you could have said, and eventually you start getting good at saying it faster. And but kind of the rule is that if you miss that opportunity, most of the time you should just let it go then and wait for the next time, as opposed to just bringing it.
And there'll be another one.
Yeah, there will be another one. Yeah, that's for sure. But you want to try to, you need to get it right when it happens, as opposed to bring it up tomorrow, or I'll talk about that eventually, or maybe next week when my husband's not working. No. It has got to be dealt with on the spot. But you're not going to be good at it at first, and that's okay. just know that you should be dealing with it as it comes up. Would you agree with that,
Yep,
Dan?
absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can think of that I need to talk about right now that I was going to talk about?
No, only, I want to say where you get this type of literature.
Okay.
Like,
oh, yes.
like at your 12 steps, the Al-Anon, they usually have tables with all these books on them because they're all about setting boundaries. Yeah, what's the other one? Codependency, Melody Beatty.
Yeah, Melody Beatty's
There'll be
Codependent No
whole
More.
tables and people in there going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And so everybody says, oh man, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. It'll change your life. And they're powerful books because you know what they are? They're technologies. And that we're not taught them. Like Angela said, we are not taught these technologies. No. And it's destroying relationships. Angela's had to be firm with me. And excuse me, and I've been firm. We check each other. If she comes across, she's either tired, and I'll say, hey, what's going on, and she does the same to me, and we keep each other in check. But man, without those books, I don't know where they're teaching it. I mean, we go to the church, and it's just, the head of every man is the woman, and the head of every woman is the man, and it's this infrastructure, and it's horrible. And you get into more of your new age churches, and the women are out of control, and they aren't going to listen to men anymore, and they're out of balance, and now they become the abuser. And so
the oppressed become the oppressor.
Yeah. So I've been in New Thought churches where they got out of religion, and there's like, no man's ever going to tell me what to do ever again, and it's total disrespect. So anyway, these books that Angela's talking about, Boundaries, Codependent No More, all those books, I mean, they're life-changing. They'll change your life, and there's no sense in going through life in hell, in a quiet discontent,
Yeah, and unfortunately, some men will say, my wife took this 12-step class or something, and came back, and she's ruined. She's ruined, and because they're not used to that. But you know what? Dan respected me after I got out of my abusive relationship with my first husband. Then I'm like, I'm never going to allow that again. And when anything would come up, I would say something. And Dan ended up having a lot of respect for me for that. I mean,
why I did was if you don't get the balance and it's out of balance, then what I saw with Angela, and she'll tell you herself, she was so low the ants could piss on her. She said I felt like that high, and all somebody would do is step on me and I wouldn't existed. So when you see somebody that low, you're like, man, for me, I wanted to give her that space and give her that voice and let her, be even over aggressive if she needed to be so she could get her voice and become the person she was meant to be, because you just keep getting lower. And it's really not the fault of the guy. He needs to be put in check, and so does the woman. And so this should be like a natural thing. It shouldn't be like just always beating somebody up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to show each other how you want to be treated.
That's right.
And say what hurts and
it's
say
not
what
about
matters.
learning to beat me up. The books aren't. See, and that's what the churches do. They say, oh, that Codependent No More. That's just beating up a husband or disrespect him. No, it's not. It's keeping the balance. Because when you tell the husband is the head of the house, it's so easy to dominate a woman. And if a woman's in subjective, like you said, she's just going to vacuum and clean and do laundry, and she's not going to have her dreams. Now Angela's got albums and books and websites and all sorts of things, that she might not have had before if she wouldn't have learned to get her voice.
Yeah, and one thing that Dan taught me is that in the beginning of getting your voice, that it comes out harsh a lot of times in the beginning because you're not used to getting your voice. So you've been stuffing it down, like I said, that volcano thing going on. And then when it finally does come out, it erupts in a lot of times harsh, because it's been bottled up for so long.
Unless you run out the door, I'm going to go get a coffee and I'll be back in 2 hours. It's like that at first. Because it's like a volcano. It's because it's been suppressed. And then when you finally say no, it comes out extra harsh. So you got to allow for that.
You do. And so Dan said, Angela, don't have guilt about that. Just relax. Eventually you're going to it's not going to be so explosive and so hard and harsh, because you're going to be used to doing it on a daily basis eventually, and you won't have any kind of a sting with it. You're going to be feeling good in your own right, in your own person, not feeling, down anymore, like the little bug in a rug, where I feel like nothing. You're going to feel good about yourself, and there's no need to beat anyone up.
And if
You
you-
feel good about yourself.
Yeah, and if you see somebody like your wife who's been beat down, and you see that, she's got some hopes and dreams and things, then a husband needs to encourage that. And a wife does too. If a guy's got all these dreams, but the wife's doing all her own thing and got her career and everything, and the husband's just in the background, that ain't cool. So you got to try to help each other. Like, I just want to use that example of you wanting to do an album.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about that.
Angela mentioned that one time about an album. And, it just kind of slipped in the back
Maybe
of my
a few
mind.
times
She told me a few times, I want to do an album. Yeah,
One
okay,
day,
cool.
one day.
And then she never mentioned it again. So, we went on writing books for me and this and that. And we did about 3 books. And then this album thing came up. And one day I caught it. And I said, oh, well, why don't you do an album? Why don't you do it? Oh, we don't have no money for me. I said, we don't have no money for you? What do you mean? She said, we don't have no money for an album. That's not important. It's kind of like she said, that's frivolous. It's like, no, that's your purpose. The album is your purpose. And so we said, let's just commit to doing your album. And I wasn't going to let it go because I had forgotten it like 3 times. But it came up again. It was a small voice, right? Hope I can do an album. Hope I can do my album. And then she said, we don't have no money for me. But I said, no, we got money for you. We'll get the money. And lo and behold, the money showed up. She did this wonderful album.
We just paid as we went is what we did
Yeah.
at the studio. And Dan just kept encouraging me. And every time that I needed to do another song and I needed money to pay for whatever, it was always there, right on time. God was really faithful. I think that, you put one foot in front of the other foot, in front of the other foot. Same with writing a book, one chapter after the other chapter, and you just pay as you go, right? That's how we've done a
Yep.
lot of things that way. And so, yeah, I was codependent because always I'd been the person who was last in my whole life, really. And I had to learn how to be balanced in that way. Not that I'm number one either and I'm all important, but that everybody's important and everybody has something to offer, and everybody should be doing their part, not just taking care of one person. Like with my ex-husband, I helped him do 3 albums, and he didn't even let me sing. And I sing, I play guitar. He wouldn't let me be in any of them. And it was just all about
He
him.
did the real estate first, and Angela was
Yeah,
going
I'd
to do
wanted
it
to
later.
get my real estate license, and he asked me if he could get his first. He'd always wanted to do it. I'm like, okay, sure. So I became his assistant, and he got his real estate license, and I never did get mine. I didn't mind. That was fine. But,
Yeah.
it's still just that it's always, sometimes it can be all about one person, and it should be balanced. I mean, like in Dan and I's relationship, we're equals.
Yeah.
We really are. If it comes down to it, he is the one who has to make the final decision, and I submit to that, because I think it's the godly thing to do. I believe God set it up that way, but I do believe sincerely that God made us equals, that we're going to stand before him on that day as equals. And
Right.
and it says God's no respecter of persons. And that, anyway, men have responsibilities towards their wives, but it's to cherish and build the character and help them be strong, and on about making them the best that they can be before God. So I respect his job to do that and to help me along that line, and I try to do the same.
And one of
But-
the rewards will be, in the end, as you grow in life, instead of I don't know if you've noticed, but when you walk into a bunch of people's homes, it's always like there's this tension between the husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know, probably 90% of homes I go in, there's this tension. You know what I mean? And it's because of resentment. And here's the other thing. Here's the gift of this. If you learn to respect each other and honor each other and adore each other and work with each other, your love will grow. You'll be more in love next year. And she'll feel loved, and I'll feel loved, and we'll feel like we're helping each other. She helps me tape kitchens. She gets on her knees and crawls around the kitchens and tapes and sands, and and I do dishes and wash floors and window clean, and I don't like to vacuum too much, but laundry, everything. We just share the load. Some days I'm tired and I don't feel like it, and she does it. And other days it's just the opposite. And so The beauty of it all is when it's all said and done, is that you love each other more. You're not harboring resentment. You're not feeling hurt because you're not doing the things that you want to do, and you're not sad. There's a sadness when you don't, when you're not able to do the thing you feel like you were meant to do. Like she has a voice, and what if she never got to sing, and she just played in her bedroom or her guitar and always had that dream and it was never acknowledged? How could that make her feel more loving toward me? Or, you know, if we weren't able to pull that out of each other. Sometimes you got to pull it out of each other.
Yes, and you know something else that you do because you love each other is that you get up out of that chair when you really just want to sit there and keep staying there for the night because you're exhausted, right? But because you love each other, you go, you want to. I think God builds that love, that's a love growing, right? You want to get up out of that chair. I mean, my dad, he's got a situation where for many years, with, I think, no excuse, he lets his wife just do everything that has to do with all the house, everything. Cooking, you know, the cleaning, you know, and he just lets her. And I always joked, but when the last time I visited my dad, he actually said these very words, but he said, I don't even know how to boil water. I'm like, that's funny, because I tell people that my dad doesn't even know how to boil water. And that's how codependent my dad is. He doesn't know how to take care of his own self. He's completely dependent, which is, I guess that's codependent, kind of, sort of, because he doesn't know how to care for his own self. But it makes her resentful. And she is not doing very well at dealing with that resentment. It ends up coming out real angry and harsh when she brings it up. And
he's not getting it.
No, he's not getting it, no. Anyway, so I hope that helps and makes some sense on, you know, this is an introduction to what is codependency, what is boundaries, and how can you help healthy relationships by using these tools that you can get from studying this stuff through the 12-step groups, through Al-Anon, through that's where you're going to get the codependency classes. You can read the books, Melody Beatty's Codependent No More and Codependent and Beyond, and she has other books, and then the boundaries, books on boundaries.
You can get them on Amazon. You can get them used for a couple bucks. I mean, it's the best gift you'll ever give yourself.
Absolutely. And when I read Codependent No More, same thing as in Boundaries, I hated reading that book. It was killer. It was absolutely killer. And my body wanted to just go to sleep when I was reading it because it bothered me so much. I just didn't want to read it. But I made myself read one chapter each time I sat down to read it. And I was not going to stop until I got done reading that chapter because I knew that it was really, really important that I learn and get this stuff down. And then I got it solidified by going to the 12-step groups and Al-Anon classes and that kind of thing, and got it down, you know. And am I perfect at it? No, but I'm doing pretty darn good.
Oh yeah.
Pretty darn good. It takes time,
Yeah,
but you can do this, and it makes your life so much better. Again, your family's going to be pissed. Okay, they're going to be pissed, but
it's a new you.
Yeah, it's the new you, and they don't like the new you. I remember this guy, Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you guys know who this guy is, but he's an amazing guy. And his family were doctors, and they thought he was going to be a doctor. That his dad was insisting he go to Harvard, I think it was, and be a doctor. And he's like, nope, not doing that. And so every time he gets together with family, they mock him and tease him. Even though he's famous now, he's written all kinds of books. He does all kinds of seminars. He has forever, very well known. They don't care. They go to see him, and this is that sick family thing that goes on. There's stupid Tolle. What a dumbass. They say all this stuff about him, but he's brilliant, and he's changed lives.
Yep.
And he didn't become a doctor. But he's changed lives like crazy. So he said, if you ever want to know how well you're doing, go visit your family. And in other words, how well do you deal with it? When they say, oh, there's dumbass, Tolle, does he get all flustered and upset and mad and start, cussing at him or something? But once you get healthy, you're like, I don't care what you think. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know I didn't do what you wanted, but I know that's just your codependency. It's just your abuse, and whatever. Say what you will. I know who I am, and or you might even figure out what to say about it.
Yep.
That's clever and sharp and witty. I don't know. God helps you with that stuff, but he said that's how you learn how far along you've come in the road of recovery. is go visit your family. I think that's funny,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, is it ever true too? Anyway, so we love you guys.
Yep, we
And
love you.
we hope
Thank
you
you.
have great relationships and that this begins that process for you to start learning how to self-care, learning how to say no, learning how to set boundaries with people and make them stick. And anyway, that's this kind of thing.
It'd be the
So-
best choice you ever made.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Because you can't love really anybody unless you love yourself. And this is, like Angela said, self-care, self-love. And so if you learn this technique, how to take care of you, then you'll have more to give. You'll be like a cup overflowing. But if you never learn to give, if you never learn to give to yourself, then you don't have anything to give. You're empty, you're sad. You maybe even feel hopeless.
Yeah.
So this is the greatest gift, like Angela said, you can give yourself, to
And-
learn these tools.
And not caretaking other people and fixing other people. That's one of the sick things that codependents do because, like you're trying to fix the alcoholic, right? Or the problem's always out there. It's never right here. But they always say, fix here first. Try not to, you know what I mean? Yeah, you got to set boundaries and you got to say no and all that. But you're not just always on the outside of yourself fixing everybody else and, trying to take care of everything for everybody else because you're so codependent, not focused on moi. You need to focus here, as far as what's wrong first and not going out on the outside of you fixing everybody else. And that just makes you terribly unhappy. It's never good enough anyway. And then you're always ignoring your own needs. You're always ignoring what needs to get dealt with in your own life, and it's not healthy. So anyway, hopefully that helps you guys.
Yep.
And we just want to help, and we're going to keep on doing this. So
That's right.
anyway, thanks for listening. And
Yep, thank
this
you.
is my new site, so I don't have too many videos on it yet, but it's called Healthy Codependent. No, wait, no. It's called, it's about healthy relationships. Now I
Yeah.
forgot the name of my site. Well, you guys, hopefully you can see right here what the name of it is, but it has to do with healthy relationships. That's what I do
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Okay. All right, you guys, have a great night or day, whatever. Enjoy, and thanks for listening.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.